In this video, we're going to be talking goals, and more goals. And don't forget to stick to the end for that Save Your Sanity quick tip. Whether you're a writer setting writing, publishing, or marketing goals, or you're a reader setting books to read, posts to post on social media, or reviews to post, we all set goals to help motivate us to get stuff done. I've always set weekly goals for myself, and this year I'm trying something new and setting quarterly goals. Back in February, I posted my first 2022 first quarter goals. And so I thought this would be a perfect time to go over whether I reached those goals or what struggles I had since the first quarter is over. Okay, so here were my first quarter goals. I wanted to reach 150 sales on my Etsy page. There was an anthology I wanted to submit to, and submissions opened April 1st. And that was to the Kingdoms of Wrath and Ice anthology, and that was being published by Tourmaline and Quartz. So the goal was to finish my short story and prep it for the submission. My third goal was to turn my zero draft, or my thorough outline, of my YA dark historical fantasy story into a first draft. Next, I wanted to finish my first draft of Faunus. And then lastly, I wanted to start my AuthorTube channel. So side note about the short story I wrote for Kingdoms of Wrath and Ice. This was actually my first fantasy story I've ever written. Most of the fantasy stories I've written have been accompanied or written with science fiction because I write science fiction mainly. And so it's been science fiction and fantasy, which that's what Isildes is. But so this was my first fantasy story that I wrote. I have been outlining and working on another fantasy, my YA dark historical fantasy story. But the short story I wrote for the Kingdom of Wrath and Ice is the first completed fantasy short story or fantasy story. So I'm really, really excited to submit that and see what kind of results come from it. So yes, I did meet my goal for prepping and finishing that short story for the Kingdoms of Wrath and Ice submission. Okay, so my YA dark historical fantasy story is supposed to be my weekend work in progress, like the thing I'm supposed to be only working on the weekends. Because during the week, my priority is to Faunus. I need to finish this book too. But so March was super crazy with finishing the edits and finishing the short story for the anthology and doing some marketing and stuff for the Rebel Diaries anthology that was released on March 30th that I was a part of, and also starting this YouTube channel. So March was really crazy that I kind of fell behind on my Faunus writing and edits. And I did still work on my YA dark historical fantasy story. And so I didn't get as far as I wanted to with that, but I did work on it, and I'm really happy with the beginning of that and what directions it's going in. And that is really important to me for writing. I don't write first drafts. Like I edit as I write, which is a really bad habit. I don't recommend it to people. I know others have said don't do it. And for some reason, my brain just needs to know that what I'm writing is going to matter. It's going to be good. And I know that when you're fast drafting and when you're just sprinting and everything, you just want to write everything as much as possible. And I've done that. And that's kind of my zero drafting and my thorough outline, because I do multiple levels of outlining. But when it comes to my first draft is technically a combination of multiple drafts. And so I'll write like the first 10 chapters, and then I can't move on until I know that the first 10 chapters make sense. They're where I want the story to go. And so I'll go back and I will literally like revise and read and see if everything makes sense. And in the meantime, because I don't write hours and hours on day, I'll usually write 1 or 2 hours in the morning or 1 or 2 hours, if that, at night, I'm a slow writer. But the point is, so I take a lot of time to really process the chapters, the chunk of chapters that I've written, and before I can move on. But once I feel comfortable with what I have, and it doesn't have to be, completely embellished. It doesn't have to be perfect. The grammar, the scene settings, all that stuff. It's the story. It's the character arc. It's the everything makes sense. I'm not having any missing plot holes or anything. So it's that kind of content that I need to make sure is there before I move on. And so once I feel that I'm good there, then I move on to the next chunk of chapters. I'll go, 10 or 15 more chapters. And then from there, I'll kind of go back to where I left off at chapter 10, and I'll just do the same process. So first draft for me, I know people get so excited when they say, oh, I'm done with my first draft. And I think that's fantastic. But for me, I am definitely a slow writer. My mind just needs to process things a little bit more. Grammar is not my strong suit. But anyways, so the process for me takes a little bit longer. And so for me to set a goal to have finished, I think I was stretching a little bit. And I may be stretching when I actually set it for the second quarter, which I'll get to in a second. But I have a deadline. I have booked my editor for August. So I need to get this book done to the point where I can send it to my editor to fix all my lovely punctuation and grammar. And that last goal, which was starting my AuthorTube, it took a lot more time for me in March to get the hang of things. And now I can set up within 10, 15 minutes, like do all the cameras and the lighting and get my script printed. And I still take some time to write the script. That usually takes about an hour or two. And then, filming. So I've gotten more comfortable with the camera. I've gotten more comfortable with speaking. And I'm really looking forward to really doing more videos to show you guys in regards to design and crafting and talking about writing processes and publishing processes and marketing with, the designs and lots of, bookish goodies to give out, homemade, to do it yourself stuff so you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on stuff. So I am looking forward to doing that, and I'm glad that I started the channel. So overall, my first quarter, I did okay. I didn't meet all of my goals, but I think it's a learning process for me. And I think that I need to make sure that I don't set myself up for failure. Just set some reasonable goals. And you too, when you set weekly goals or monthly goals or quarterly goals, you want to set goals that work towards the bigger goal. They motivate you to keep going and keep moving forward to reach that end point. And so I feel like I'll have to keep that in mind myself when setting my second quarter goals. So, all right, let's just really quickly, I'm going to list off what I have for my second quarter goals. Again, I'll probably throw a post up on Instagram, just to have for me as a reminder of what I need to get done. In regards to my Etsy shop, I'd like to have reached at least 150 sales. For my YouTube channel, I'd like to have posted at least 9 new videos over the next 3 months. For my YA dark historical fantasy story, that story I'm working on the weekends, I think I'd like to have written at least the first 15 chapters of that first draft. For Faunus, since I do have an early August deadline to get this manuscript to my editor, I'd like to have the story finished, the manuscript, as best as it could be to send to her. Something else I'd like to add to my goals for next quarter is I'd like to brainstorm or outline a companion novella to Isildes, another one. But this one from Ryan's point of view, back when she was younger, living on Sandara. So those are my second quarter 2022 quarterly goals, and I really do think they're all doable. I think by the end of June, early July, I'll do another video just doing a recap of my second quarter goals. And I really think that I'll be able to have completed all of these goals. Okay, let's jump into this week's Save Your Sanity quick tip. Okay, here I am in my WordPress dashboard. I'm under Pages, and under my Pages, I'm going to open the Rebel Diaries anthology, and this is where I have the back end of my web page, and this is my website, my author website. And when you go to the Rebel Diaries anthology, and this is what it looks like when you go to my website. There's the excerpt and some more information. An easy way to back up your work is, if you're in WordPress, go over to the text and you have all this HTML code. All you have to do is put your cursor in there somewhere, select all, copy, just open up a new notepad document, paste, and see all the HTML stays right in there. And then you save it. So if you ever need to, if something happens and there's a crash, or you can go and let's create a new page, add new, test page. So down here where you enter all your content, and you go back, select all, copy, go back over to your texts, and just paste it in there. And there you go. It's an easy way to back up your blog posts, your pages on your website, anything on your website. You just want to go into that HTML and copy the HTML. You don't want to copy this. You don't want to copy all of this. What you want to do is, you want to make sure you get everything in the code. So you copy the HTML. I hope that helps, and be sure to save all your work. When you're writing, when you're doing your blog posts, anything you do, always have a backup. Thank you for watching, and I really hope that I have motivated you to set some weekly, monthly, or quarterly goals. You don't necessarily have to share them or post them on social media, but at least have them visible for somewhere where you can see on a whiteboard, a calendar on your phone, somewhere where you can kind of keep track of where you are with your goals. Be sure to subscribe to stay in the loop for new videos, and ring that cute little bell and you'll get notifications when a new video is uploaded. If you're on Instagram, be sure to hop on over to my Instagram page. I'm at kgrymes.writes, and I post things for both writers and readers. I do share a lot of stuff from my Etsy shop on my Instagram page too. Some things like my mystery boxes, which seem to be quite popular lately, the Bookstagram themed mystery boxes, as well as some digital downloads like my worksheets and checklists for writers and readers. So be on the lookout for those posts as well. Thank you again for watching, and until next Thursday, remember to keep reading, keep writing, and keep moving forward.